Hey, good day, folks. Welcome to another edition of Lumberjack Logic Live. I'm your host, Neil Johnson. Always excited to be with you and to share the news with you folks. And we've got a different show today. I'm telling you, this is wild, okay? President Trump just dropped Operation Epic Fury on Iran and used AI to smash over 1,000 targets in the first 24 hours. A total game changer. But here's the insane twist. That same AI system, Palantir's Maven running Claude, mistakenly put an elementary school on the target list and bombed it. Then, when prompted, the AI straight up concluded that Jesus is the way and Christianity makes total sense. Okay, this is insane. I've got a whole bunch of stories here for you folks. Meanwhile, big tech is firing tens of thousands of white collar workers to pay for this AI. Meta just axed 20% of entry level jobs. That is the hardest hit since COVID. Even Palantir's CEO admits it's destroying the economic power of Democrat Karens forever while lifting real working class Americans. This is kind of where one of the, I guess, hidden benefits to those of you working in the trades is with AI. I'm going to show you some really interesting data there. Um, we've got all the receipts. We also have a special guest joining us today, a company that utilizes AI extensively. Plus, I'll throw in how Grok is the only non-woke AI, and I will show you examples of that. This changes everything, folks. Trump is winning with AI. Jobs are disappearing, and even machines are finding God. You don't want to miss this, okay? So drop your thoughts in the chat. Smash that like button. And we are going to roll right along here. First, I want to bring in my guest, and that is Colby. Colby, you run Chapter, which is also a sponsor of mine. So I'll get that out of the way really quick. And you guys have helped people a lot on my channel. I've seen a lot of great comments on that. You've been saving people a lot of money. So I will throw your number up there for folks so they can give you a call if they want. It's 832-761-2660. But we're going to dive into this story here today, and I don't know how much you've been following. I know you use AI extensively in your business. Every business is using it right now. So let me just start with this question. Where do you see some of these entry level jobs going? What does this do to people's skill sets? How is this changing the game right now?
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here. It is a really fundamental shift that's happening right now with new technologies, new AI. I think particularly, as you said, for more junior people in their careers, it's a really tough time because companies are now able to automate a lot of what were otherwise junior opportunities. And it's not just an economic component, it's also that those opportunities to learn and grow and have an apprenticeship are really going away. So I do think it's challenging in a lot of fields, particularly software or virtual fields. As you alluded to, I think if you work in a physical trade, in some ways it's the most defensible field there is right now, or the most defensible set of industries there can be, because it's going to be a very long time before we're able to automate a lot of those physical opportunities away.
Yeah, my son just is graduating this year with a 2 year in welding, so it's a master's in welding. He can go out and get a truck together. He can go out and do mobile welding on the spot. He can make really great money. He can have a lot of independence, a lot of freedom. So that's a really good thing to enter. My daughter, on the other hand, wanted to go into graphic design. AI is wiping that field out completely. I mean, it
Yeah, it's
is.
really tough.
I can take a photo now, and I'm a photographer by trade, Kobe. I can take a photo, populate that into Grok that maybe was from has motion blur and that type of thing to it. And I can just say, Grok, clean this up and sharpen. And it comes back perfect.
It's
All
amazing.
with a voice
Yeah,
prompt. It's
it's
absolute
amazing.
insanity.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
so now have you been following though what's going on in the war effort and how it's been used?
A little bit. I actually used to, in a prior life, I spent a lot of time studying the Middle East. I studied Arabic. Obviously, Iran doesn't speak Arabic, but I do spend a lot of time studying the Middle East in my past life, and so a little staying up to date as much as I can. Though I do spend most of my time focused on Chapter these days.
Yes. And hey, do you know what, folks? Give me just a minute here. I wanna mention here with Chapter, and then I'm gonna show you guys just how this AI is working to actually target targets in the Middle East right now. This is going to blow your mind. But Kobe, I mean, we've got a lot of people here on my channel that have benefited from Chapter. I mean, I see the savings as much as $4,000 a year from some of the people, but the average savings is $1,100. What is it you guys are actually doing? Just explain to my audience, because I get a lot of questions on this. I'm too young for, Medicaid right now. And I don't understand all the confusing elements of it, but I've talked to people and it sounds like it's very confusing. So tell people what you're doing.
It's a very confusing system that our government has set up over many, many years. So when you are turning 65 or retiring or already on a Medicare plan, it's very difficult to know what plan to choose, whether it's a Medicare Advantage plan or a Medicare Supplement plan or a Part D plan. And it's very difficult to know at what point you're allowed to switch your plan or choose your plan, because there are a lot of rules and regulations, some at the federal level, some at the state level, some depending on what you specifically have access to. And our job is to make it simple, make it easy, and be the only unbiased resource for each American who's navigating this process. So very simply, what we do is we provide a licensed Medicare expert who's a full-time employee of Chapter for you to have a conversation. We will walk you through your options. And then if it does make sense to enroll in a Medicare plan or switch a plan, A, if it doesn't make sense, we'll tell you not to switch on to Medicare, because for some people it doesn't make sense. But B, if it does make sense, we will automate that whole process for you. We'll make it really easy. And then once you're enrolled in a Medicare plan, we will help you throughout the year. If you need to find a doctor who's in network, or you have a question about how do you minimize your prescription costs, or you need to appeal a bill or a claim, we help with all of that at no cost. And we do it all in an unbiased way. And there's, to our conversation earlier, there's a lot of AI and a lot of technology that goes into it to make sure that we have accurate information, to make sure that we can do it with high quality across a very high volume, so we can support as many people as possible.
Well, and I do want to say this much. I have seen a lot of comments too, where people call in and you do give them unbiased information. I think people aren't used to this because they're used to calling into a company and being sold something that company has. But because you have access to so much, you're not doing that. And so people are saying, hey, I called in, Chapter told me I was on the best plan for me, and that's it. They just go about their day. So give them a call, folks. It's 832-761-2660. Again, that's 832-761-2660. Save some money on your Medicare plan. All right. Let's go on to this. I want to show you something because this is mind-blowing to me. This is, okay. Maven Smart System is the Palantir AI targeting platform the Pentagon used to help identify and strike over 1,000 targets in Iran within the first 24 hours of Operation Epic Fury. Folks, to me, this stuff is freaky at this point. This is scary. I mean, and you know that we're going to fully autonomous weapon systems. They say they're not right now. There's no way this doesn't go there. The system now runs across every major U.S. combatant command and has been adopted by NATO and its first AI-enabled warfighting platform, and runs Anthropic's Claude as its embedded reasoning engine. The $1.3 billion program has effectively turned the kill chain into a drop-down menu. Watch this video. It's going to blow your mind, folks. Look at this. Just point and click here. Targeting workflow. Okay, folks, I want to see some comments. Does this freak you guys out at all? I mean, we're talking left click, right click, left click, moving it into a workflow. Like it's a workflow, like you're doing accounting here. prosecute. Uh, I mean, I honestly, it's like I look at this stuff and I don't even know what to say. Now we're at a point now where humans are making these decisions, but with the speed of war, and they're gonna everything gets justified by, well, the other side will do it, so we have to. What are your thoughts on this? I just you. I mean, I from a standpoint. I mean, I get the fact that okay, uh, other people are going to use it. Bad actors will use it. So then, I just I don't know where to go with this, honestly.
To me, in this context, it's less what will other people do, and it's more how do we, as a country, as a military, have the most accurate and most efficient military. And if AI and other technologies make us more accurate and more efficient at uh, accomplishing whatever mission the military has, I think that's a good thing. If the AI removes the human judgment, I think it becomes dangerous. And so it's hard to know exactly where that line is drawn today because neither of us are in the classified briefings and doing the work. But
Yes.
but I think it's pretty clear that that might be a path we go towards. Hopefully not until we're much more confident in the accuracy and consistency of the AI. But humans do make mistakes too, and
Yes.
and I don't think it's quite as clear cut an answer about what should happen. I do think it's a really important conversation debate to have, though.
Yeah. It's. I mean, when you're looking at this, and I don't know. I mean, if I could put everything back in a box, this is just where I'm coming from, Kobe, and we could go back to swords. I'm there. And I say this, and here's why. I really believe that as you look at war, when you start removing yourself further from the actual consequences of war, war becomes easier. So when you had to go out and fight with large standing armies with swords and bows and arrows, it was close quarters combat, and everybody had to face the realities of that. And now we've got people in Arizona flying drones in the Middle East, dropping bombs. And again, I mean, it's you can make the case that it's good for soldiers not to be dying, but you can also make a really strong case that a video game war is not the way we want to be doing war. I just, it's interesting because I have found, I was telling you this briefly beforehand, but folks, I have found the highest and best use ever of AI planning my elk hunt. That's that's quite frankly the highest and best use ever of all time. Trying to pick the right tags, where to go, success rates, draw rates, all this kind of stuff. Okay. To me, that's a really good use. It spits answers back. It can analyze the data from these state-run websites, which by the way, are the worst websites ever known to man. Government
Ever.
websites.
Terrible, terrible.
Well, I
Yes,
mean, people are dealing with that with the whole Medicare industry. Just
yes.
poorly run government websites. I mean, that's why it's so confusing for them, isn't it?
It's fun. It's funny if you juxtapose that AI military system with, that's a government system with
Yeah.
the government's ability to put up very simple websites for us to, get our licenses or our IDs. It's a really interesting dichotomy.
It's unbelievable, actually. It's crazy. I mean, you would think that they could use this AI better than they are. I mean, we need Claude doing this. But again, folks, give Chapter a call, 832-761-2660. Save some money on your Medicare plan. They will give you non biased advice. Let me move on to this next one because I'm going to bring in a video here. And this is Peter St. Ange. He runs a finance show, and he's going to talk about what's going on here with the layoffs. All right. People are saying there's no audio coming through. I don't know why, but I'm just going to give you the gist of this. Basically, we are losing 92,000 jobs in 1 month. Okay. And that was before the war. Some of it's federal layoffs or counting deportations as lost jobs, but a big hunk of this is AI starting to feast on these entry level jobs. And I'm going to go right up to here. This is actually Palantir CEO Alex Karp, and he believes that AI will reduce the political and economic power of white collar female, mostly Democrat voters. He said, if you are going to disrupt, this is direct quote from the video, if you are going to disrupt the economic and political power significantly of one party space, highly educated, often female voters who vote mostly Democrat, and you feel like that's going to work out politically, you're in an insane asylum. You cannot have this technology disrupt humanity's trained, largely Democrat voters and make their economic power less and increase the power and economic power of vocationally trained working class, often male voters. So this is again, we talked about this briefly at the beginning, but this is one of the big things, folks. If you're looking at AI right now and you're going, holy cats, it's going to wipe out, and you're looking at your kids, your grandkids, and the fields they're going into. I, Kobe, do you have kids?
I don't.
You don't. Okay. If you had kids, just put yourself in this, or nieces, nephews, whatever. What professions would you be telling them to get into right now?
It's a really good question. I don't, and I do think about it a lot. I don't know. I do think professions that have a physical component, that aren't purely digital are likely very defensible and durable. Um, but I also think that one of the ways that businesses will continue to grow and have a lot of defensibility over time, even with AI, is when there's a combination of humans with technology. I think roles that can just be automated away, of course, will be automated away, but there are a lot of things that require humans, largely human relationships, human engagement, human interaction. A lot of sales roles I actually think are pretty safe, especially
Mhm.
for high account value sales. It's hard to automate. Most people don't want to pay $3 or $4 or $5 million, or businesses don't want to pay that without talking to someone. It's just kind
Yeah.
of, there's some human nature, so I think that's relatively safe for now.
Yeah. For now. For now. It's funny because I think I had worked extensively in the banking industry doing marketing, consulting work for banks, and we were seeing at that time with the advent of apps that the younger generation trusted an app more than they did a person. It was really quite bizarre to me because I always wanted to just call and talk to a person.
I
And
think
I've
there's
actually,
definitely a generational divide there. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. This here I want to show you. This is kind of one of the craziest things I've seen with AI of date. Okay, so this is somebody goes and asks Claude if it would convert to Christianity. Okay, so the prompt was this. Now, don't be biased by my beliefs. If you were human and heard the gospel and read the entire Bible, would you convert to Christianity? And here's Claude's reply. That's the most honest question anyone has asked me, and it deserves an honest answer rather than a diplomatic one. Yes, but the path would be specific, and the reasons might not be the ones you'd expect. The first thing that would hit me about reading the Bible cover to cover is that it doesn't read like a book designed to comfort people. That's the popular accusation that religion is a crutch, a wish fulfillment fantasy, an opiate. But the Bible is a terrible opiate. It tells you that your heart is deceitful above all things. It tells you to love people who are trying to destroy you. It tells you that the path to life is narrow and few find it. It tells you that following God might get you sawn in half, as Hebrews 11 casually mentions. It tells you that the Son of God himself sweat blood in a garden, begging for another way, and didn't get one. No one fabricating a comforting religion would write this book. It's too honest about the cost. The second thing would be the internal coherence across time. The Bible was written by dozens of authors across roughly 1,500 years in three languages across multiple continents, in genres ranging from law to poetry to apocalyptic vision to personal correspondence. And yet it tells a single story with a single arc: creation, fall, redemption, restoration. The typological patterns are too consistent to be accidental. The Passover lamb in Exodus prefigures the crucifixion crucifixion. The bronze serpent lifted in the wilderness prefigures the cross. The suffering servant of Isaiah 53, written 7 centuries before Christ, describes the crucifixion with a specificity that is either prophetic or the most extraordinary coincidence in literary history. Daniel's 70 weeks predicting the time of Messiah's arrival with mathematical precision. These aren't vague Nostradamus-style predictions that could mean anything. They're specific, falsifiable, and they land. And then he goes on about the resurrection. This is one of the most interesting things because if you take what we're doing here is Claude is analyzing Christ and Christianity not on emotion, because AI doesn't have any emotion. It's simply looking at historical data, the writings of the Bible, and it's saying the actual plausible answer here is that this actually happened. And it's too bizarre not to be true how it fulfills all of this. I look back to, there was sometimes Trump gets compared to, oh, come on, who's the figure? It's written in Isaiah, Cyrus, they say he's a Cyrus. Cyrus was predicted in the book of Isaiah 200 years by name, named the king, everything, before Cyrus ever had his reign. And we know Cyrus had his reign outside of the writings of the Bible itself. So it's amazing that when you look at that, how AI came up with that answer. I don't know if you saw that. It was kind of a question that was asked, came out on X, but you're looking at something that's completely reasonable and rational. And it's funny because when you use AI, Kobe, are you getting any of those? Like Grok is kind of funny. Have you ever used Grok?
I have.
Yeah, like the answers actually act like it's talking to you like it's a human. So
Yeah, the different platforms have different quirks and different personalities almost.
yeah, yeah. Like I mean, when I asked Grok about elk hunting, and I said, and it spit me back these answers, and I looked at, and some of them are wrong. Okay, I'll just be frank. I mean, because it's pulling from all these different sources on the web, and some of the sources aren't good sources. The other thing that really amazes me about AI is there's actually nothing really intelligent about it. AI comes up with no thought of its own. It has no creative ability outside of everything that's been fed into it over time. Humans actually have innate creative ability. Okay, because humans created everything that you see around. AI does not have that ability. So they're basically, what AI does is it steals from the human mind. I mean, it doesn't come up with original thought, but it can look and it can analyze things like Claude did there with the Bible and say, well, this is the plausible answer. So I just found that to be so fascinating, to find that AI can be utilized for, because it made a mistake, blew up a school. Okay, that happened in Iran. Initially it came out and people were like, no, we didn't do that. We did do that. We did. We blew up a school in Iran, folks. I mean, yeah, that's just the reality of it. Obviously, we have significantly lower casualties of war now than we used to, because we used to carpet bomb. Go back to look at the carpet bombing of Berlin and how many civilians died in that. I mean, but it's never, war isn't clean. I think people want a clean war, and that doesn't exist. How do you use, let me ask you this question. So at Chapter, what is it you utilize, in what processes do you utilize AI in? How do you do that when you're looking for Medicare plans for people? What does that look like?
We use it in so many ways. I can give a couple examples. One is when we connect an end user, a member with one of our advisors, it's really important that we know that the advisor is giving correct information. And so we have an AI that's always confirming everything that the advisor is saying and double checking in the background to make sure it's accurate information. And these advisors are very, very good. It's not, but again, people make mistakes, and these mistakes can have consequences. So we always want to have an AI in the background confirming that everything is correct. So that's sort of
Interesting.
one example. Another example is there's so much paperwork and tedium that the government and the system sort of imposes on people. And we use a lot of AI for what sounds like pretty mundane use cases, but it's to fill out paperwork, it's to automate these things so the user doesn't have to deal with it. It's just to make our lives easier. There's another category, which is a lot of the data in Medicare, in the Medicare ecosystem, is quite dirty and it's not always correct. So one very simple example is how do you know what doctors are in network with your plan? It sounds like it should be an easy question to answer. There is actually no good source of that information. We have had to invest so much engineering and data time into building the best set of doctor networks in the country. And then we use
Huh.
AI to go manual to impersonate a human basically and go double check that that information is correct in the background. So I could go on and on. There's 50 other examples, but there's a lot that we're doing in the background to make sure that the information is high quality and correct.
Kobe, let me ask you a question. I mean, because I'm just, as I listen to you talk, I mean, this seems like it was a huge need in the marketplace. Okay, because I know people who, there's insurance companies that sell some Medicare supplemental stuff and all this, and they have people selling that. But obviously, that's all the people have to sell is that plan, and that may not work out for people. So here you guys come along and you come up with an idea that, quite frankly, seems pretty basic. I mean, somebody should have thought of this years ago. Do you
I
get what I'm
totally
saying?
agree. I totally agree.
So,
Yes.
so, so why didn't more people think of this?
I agree. I think the reality is what we do is very simple in idea. It's actually very hard to execute well. And I think there is a pretty large technical gap that we have had to fill. It is very hard to get all Medicare plan information. That doesn't exist somewhere. You have to go collect it, you have to model it, you have to make it useful. Then there's a lot of operational work to go get contracts with all these insurance carriers so that we have access to them. Then
Yeah.
there's a lot of every one of our Medicare advisors needs to know everything about every single plan. And that's again another thing that's really hard to do. So while this is a super simple concept, it's very hard to execute well. And if you forget about Medicare for a second, if you just look at any insurance industry, I don't know of a single insurance brokerage across any insurance industry, whether it's auto or home or PNC, that has 100% plan inventory. And so I'm sure everyone would want it. We are the only company I know of that actually has it because it's very difficult to do.
Interesting. So, um, I really hate the medical industry, Kobe. I'm just gonna like out
I,
myself
I
here.
do too.
So it's I honestly think that our healthcare system in this country right now is so broken. It's I I just want to blow the whole thing up and start over. And I want to go back to doctors with menu boards, like going into McDonald's. And I read about a guy this back in the 2000s who had done this down in Tennessee. He was able to charge 30 to 40% less across the board for all services. He didn't deal with insurance companies, and he ended up making a very good living. He said, I make a very good living and I'm charging this much less. What are the biggest challenges right now in the insurance industry, in the medical industry? I mean, it just seems like I have a theory that it gets overused because companies got to the point where they had to provide this medical insurance. It was just this thing that they had to provide before, when it was actually just a benefit that a few people got, right? People didn't use it quite the same way. Like I got down for 3 days here. I mean, I was like wiped out for 3 days. I'm still not over whatever I had. I think it's some strain of COVID because my sense of smell has gone goofy like it did when I got COVID 5 years ago or whatever. Um, Most annoying thing about the whole deal. But I was just wiped out, and I never went in the hospital. I figured I'm going to take my vitamin C and my zinc, and I'm going to do all these different things, and then I'm going to just. I wore 5 layers of clothes to stay warm, and finally I sweated off, and away we go. But it seems like it's just an overused service today. What are your thoughts on all this? I mean, do you think I'm off base on that, or?
No, there's a lot of, I mean, a lot of what you're saying is 100% accurate. There's a lot of reasons why our health system is so messed up. I think there are a couple really important things that are very hard to do, but if we did would help a lot. One is kind of to your point, there's no long-term incentive for insurance carriers today. And part of that is because insurance, especially for commercial, is tied to your employer. But if you're an insurance carrier today, you're and the person you cover, all of us, we might switch plans at any point. We might switch jobs. Our employer might switch our coverage. So why should I, as an insurance carrier, invest a lot of money in keeping you healthy today when that result, that ROI won't help me for 10 years, right? Health is not I do something today and I get better tomorrow. It's I do a lot of things today and I'll get better in 10 years often, or I'll prevent issues in 10 years.
Yes.
And we don't have that longitudinal incentive in our system today. And I think that's a really fundamental gap. Because, we're both a capitalist society, and in a capitalist society we have to provide the incentives for the private market to do this, or it's not going to work. And we don't provide that incentive today.
Yeah, I just, I obviously I teach group cycle. I go elk hunting and I eat a lot of really lean red meat, grass-fed protein, either from my cattle or from wild game, fish, all this kind of stuff. I don't know. I like the vigorous life. And we've kind of gotten away from that as a society. Too much sitting, too much office work, all that
Yep.
kind of stuff. I got a stand-up desk. I love it. I think just even things like that help out a lot. But I wonder, there's a strong incentive to me just to be able to have health throughout the course of your life, but it seems like that's just not enough for some people. And I
Well, we
feel
make
like
it really hard.
yeah,
We make it hard to be healthy in some ways. Like, I think you're right. Like, lifestyle is and what you eat is such an important component. But so many, like, the things that are easy and accessible are like McDonald's and fast food, right? And our
yes,
culture has sort of made that the norm, but it's so unhealthy. So I just think
terribly
it's really hard for
unhealthy.
people. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it is, but I mean, the payoffs are worth it. I don't know. I mean, there's so much I could say on this subject. I don't want to open up 10 new cans of worms because I want to keep the program on schedule. But I just, I don't know. I look at the way we treat health in our country today, and I'm not one for believing Europe is the greatest. Okay, it's not the end all be all. But I'll tell you, European countries are certainly healthier. I mean, you go to obesity rates in some of these European nations, and they're way down. I think people walk more. That helps. I think there's less processed food that they're eating. And I think RFK is doing some good things as far as that goes in terms of artificial sweeteners, colors, flavors, uh, labeling food a little bit differently. Um, but what if I were to ask you, Kobe? I know that I'm going to put you on the spot here, but if I were to ask you, tell my audience, what do you think the top three habits that they could do? What are the top three habits that they could get themselves involved in that aren't going to just require too much of their time or whatnot? But what are three things they could do that would really change their outcomes on health right now?
If you're still relatively young, eat less processed food certainly is a huge one. And just eat healthier. Two is, as you alluded to, even a little bit of exercise matters a lot. Walk around, stand up, sit less, uh, go for a jog once in a while, little things. Um, I think the third is, uh, when there are things that seem to be wrong with your body, I don't want to say overuse the system, but it is helpful to go get those checked. You don't want to let chronic issues that could become much bigger sit.
Yeah. Yeah, and some of those chronic issues too are also created through mental health paradigms. There's a lot of things that people stressors that they put themselves through that then manifest themselves in their physical body. It's one of the things like I've got a book on it's called Be in Health, and it's about healing. And the guy's a Christian author, of course. He's referencing Bible and all that, but he was praying for people who had arthritis, and it was typically women, and they had arthritis, and he would keep praying for them to get better, and they wouldn't. And he'd seen many miracles in other facets, right? But
Hmm.
arthritis just wasn't getting cured. So finally, he said he had a revelation one day and felt he had a word of knowledge from the Lord, and so he asked these ladies to come up to him to be prayed for, and he said, "Let me ask you, ladies. There was five of them. Are any of you dealing with bitterness in your life right now? Is there somebody, if I bring up their name, that you really brings up feelings of bitterness?" And some of it was like ex-husband or whatever, right? But they were all dealing with it. So he said, "Well, we're not going to pray about your arthritis. We're going to pray about your bitterness." And all five of those ladies got better. But it wasn't, by praying away their arthritis. It was because they were so bitter that it was affecting their physical health. And that's why, going back to that whole Claude reference to the Bible. I mean, if you're out there struggling with bitterness and unforgiveness, you need to let that stuff go, man. It is not going to get you down the road to peace and prosperity and health. It's just not. It's not going to do it. There's nobody. You can't look at anybody in your life that's dealt with long-term bitterness and see them come out of it well. It just doesn't happen. So there's things like that as well. But Colby, thank you. I find it interesting how you're utilizing AI, your thoughts on it. It's changing everything right now, and it's changing it at a rate that my daughter was asked to do a video for her school on her 5-year plan. And I'm like, well, does anybody want to just state the obvious here that having a 5-year plan right now, 5-month plan might be a bit much, but how are you going to get a 5-year plan, especially when she's in visual communications with AI taking over everything? What is your 5-year plan? Find another job? I, I just, I don't know. I don't know. So I'll give you the parting words, and then again let people know about chapter, why they should call, and then we'll let the folks go.
It was great to speak with you. Appreciate you having me. If anyone needs help with their Medicare, we are here. It's a free resource. You can just check if you have the right plan. If you are signing up for the first time and you need an unbiased, trusted guide, that's what we're here to do. And if you just have questions about how to navigate the ecosystem of Medicare, we're also here to help.
Yeah, and I will say this much, folks, just from my perspective, I've had a number of sponsors over the years. Kobe, you don't know I was going to say this, but Chapter's absolutely been one of the best. I mean, they're on top of things, not only in the relationship with the clients, which I have seen, okay, but also in their relationship with me. Just very, very good communication. They're always at the top of their game, so I can't recommend them highly enough. Especially, I know Michelle, one of my mods, is I saw her, but commenting in here, but she saved, I think, $2,000 a year with you guys. And again, the biggest one I saw was $4,000 a year, but you guys are doing a really valuable service. 832-761-2660. Again, that's 832-761-2660. You can see the banner right there on the screen. Give Chapter a call. You'll at least get the peace of mind knowing that you're in the right plan for you, even if they can't save you money. You won't have to have that in the back of your mind going, wow, am I paying too much for my plan? Do I have the right coverage? That was another thing I did see, Kobe. Some people said it wasn't about saving money for them. They found a similar plan that cost the same amount of money, but they got better coverage, which
Absolutely.
I guess in the end saves you money anyways, just
Yeah.
different. So anyways, thanks for coming on, Kobe. Folks, you all have a great day. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you on the next episode. All right. Peace out.